Our next author is a finer woman.
Thank you.
She is pretty phenomenal. Privately, Dr. CMC Grant often quotes this message from Gandhi: "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." This is how she has built a global platform of service. Dr. Grant has spent countless hours quietly volunteering her time and service in the community through her civic engagement and youth mentorship. From working closely with local elected officials to support community outreach, to volunteering her time with speaking with students in her local schools, to serving on PTA boards, Dr. Grant gets the greatest joy from serving others. She has received numerous awards from the New York State Senate, New York State Assembly, New York City City Council, Office of the Governor of New York, national and local organizations, including her most recent recognition as a Woman of Distinction by the Continental Societies Incorporated. Her body of work is punctuated by receiving the 2016 Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award for volunteer service from our 44th, our only president,
Yes.
President Barack Obama,
The truth.
an appointment in 2017 as a Fellow of the Most Excellent Order of International Experts, and a recipient of the 2019 I Change Nations World Civility Ambassador Award. Publicly, as an empowerment strategist for faith-based entrepreneurs, international speaker, best-selling author, trainer, celebrity guest host, Dr. CMC Grant is living her divine calling to lead, teach, and inspire. Described as God's designer original, she ignites her audience with her captivating smile, intoxicating humor, and boundless energy. The strategic focus of Dr. Grant's empowerment platform is executed through the Destiny Designers University, a classroom without borders where we graduate to the next best version of ourselves by turning inspiration into results. Dr. Grant's work is supported through her multimedia platform, virtual classes, live trainings, and Amazon bestseller, Action, Despite the Distraction, 7 Life Lessons to Thrive and Live Your Destiny Now. Dr. Grant also has this distinction of being one of the world-renowned Les Brown's notable platform speakers, one of his expert trainers, and the host of Les Brown Motivational Monday Night Calls. As a philanthropist, Dr. Grant is the co-chair of the Queens, New York City affiliate of the National Cares Mentoring Movement, founded by Susan L. Taylor, whose mission is to recruit, connect, and direct mentors to vulnerable young people. Additionally, she is the secretary of her church choir, past president of the St. John's University Black Alumni Association, a life member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and community service chair for Jack and Jill America Inc. Queens chapter. But this is the most important part. Dr. Grant currently resides in Queens, New York with her husband Andrew and 2 sons, Josiah and Jeremy. With God as her guide, our global community will be better for her service to humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Grant.
Thank you. You ready to have fun? Yes, absolutely. Ooh, we were connected.
We were connected. You see how it's divine water.
Yes, it is. Yes, absolutely.
So we just found out we have something in common.
Yes.
We were both raised primarily by our grandmothers. And so every word we say today, we decided we're going to dedicate to them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So with that, let's talk about the front row.
Absolutely. First, let me just start by saying God is so awesome. Just to be here with you all today is a blessing. So can we just start with giving God some praise? Yes. And I want to thank the Greater Hudson Valley chapter and to be here with you. Isn't she just the boss? Like, this is my new bestie right here, Miss Anne Marie Bishop. We have bonded and now we cannot be broken. But I would love to thank this chapter for allowing this opportunity for us to have this dialogue. It's so important for us to communicate, and to do an author series is just amazing. So I'm honored to be here. And I start off everything with, hello, sunshine. Hello. That was way too low energy for me. Hello, Sunshine. So thank you for that. And yes, my grandmother, I was blessed. For 98 years, she was on this planet. And to have her be a part of my life since my birth. They love to tell the story when my mother was in labor that she pulled my grandmother's dress all the way over her head while in the room. And my mother she said, Mama, it didn't happen like that. And they debated back and forth. But to know that from that first breath I took until she took her last, she's the inspiration for everything that I do. So Grandma and Grandma, we hope that you are shining down today as we honor you both.
They're both here.
Yes, yes, they are. So I'm going to read this passage that's in my book. It's something that I hope resonates with everyone here and the message behind it. The author is unknown, but I have given that author unknown a lot of press because the words are so important to really understanding who sits in your front row. Invite your audience carefully. Not everyone is healthy enough to have a front row seat in our lives. There are some people in your life that need to be loved from a distance. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you let go or at least minimize your time with draining, negative, incompatible, not going anywhere, relationships and or friendships. Observe the relationships around you. Pay attention. Which ones lift and which ones lean. Which ones encourage and which ones discourage. Which ones are on a path of growth uphill and which ones are going downhill. When you leave certain people, do you feel better or do you feel worse? Which ones always have drama or don't really understand, know, or appreciate you? The more you see quality, respect, growth, peace of mind, love, and truth around you, the easier it will become for you to decide who gets to sit in the front row and who should be moved to the balcony of your life. You cannot change the people around you, but you can change the people you're around.
But I want to meet anonymous. I want to meet anonymous for a cocktail break. So poignant to me. That should resonate with everybody in this room. Because I know when I get that thought, these are the people I've let go. And then we're going to get into toxic people.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a natural segue. I used to have, one of the things my grandmother told me, you do not have as many friends as you think.
Oh.
Yes.
What you have is acquaintances. My mother dove into that and she said, you know, there's living room friends and there's boudoir, bedroom friends. And I don't mean intimate friends. I mean people that you let into your soul. But most of them you might need to just keep in the hall.
That's right.
Okay? So it's talking about the front row to the balcony.
That's right.
And I had an acquaintance, I thought it was a friend, but I had an acquaintance who used to call me, wouldn't even say, how are you? This is before caller ID. Had I had caller ID, I would have been yeah, you know, how are you? My boyfriend and da-da-da, and I just get, and I don't know what I'm going to do, girl, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I just don't know, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? Should I break up with him? Should I not break? And finally I said, Lord have mercy, every time I hang up the phone from her, I feel exhausted.
Yes.
I'm listening to the same problem year after year after year. And so this is a balcony friend. She now sits in my balcony. So,
Hallelujah.
God bless her. Okay, and another thing my grandma said, some people you must feed with a long handle.
Boom. Yeah. That's right.
But you break out that long
Handle.
So what I'd like to ask you about in your journey,
Yes.
because you've had a remarkable journey.
Thank you.
who was the most difficult person for you to let go?
Ooh, that is a great one. Who was the most difficult person for me to let go? The first person that's coming to mind, and you talk about transparency and standing in your truth, was someone I let in to be my assistant.
Okay.
So when you have an assistant, you have someone that's like the director of your operations, it's like you're engaging in a relationship of trust. And I'm guilty of being that person among my friends that they say, oh, Miss Pollyanna, you see, the light in everything, you see the good in everybody. And my husband even told me, I know why God made me marry you, so that I can protect you from yourself, because you trust too many people. And to your point about too many friends, I'm Jamaican, so my mother was like, you have too many friend, another friend. So, she just was not into that. But that was the most hurtful because it was a young person. I spent a lot of time mentoring and pouring in to young people. And when I open my heart, I don't know how to do half open, right? I open it. And it was hard seeing the truth that someone wasn't for you in the way that you thought that they were. And I felt like I went through a divorce when I had to let her go. So that was hard because you have an expectation of people in your life. And you feel if you're a certain way, that they reciprocate the same behavior. And that doesn't always happen. But what I had to learn is not to get bitter, but get better from the experience of understanding that I have to see things for what it is. Because there were signs. We talked about that earlier. But you ignore the signs because most black women I know, we feel we can fix everything and everybody. Anybody out there can do that? So I had to realize that I didn't see some of those signs, and I had to let myself heal through the process of having to let her go. And that it was hurtful, it was disappointing, but everything happens for a reason. And it's not to hold anything negative against her, because when somebody's not ready to sit in your front row, it doesn't mean they're a horrible person. Exactly. It just means they need to still work on developing to the next best version of who they're becoming. Exactly. And we're gonna pray for them in the process. Right. Because you don't have the capacity to entertain those relationships that are stumbling blocks to you walking in your assignment.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't have the capacity or the latitude to do it. Life is too short. So while we're here, we have to be intentional on how we show up. So the front row conversation is not just for having the right people around you, but those individuals push you into what's next for you, because you get really comfortable in life going through playing it safe. 8 years, I won't even tell you how long it took with God working on me to make sure that this got into the hands of people. You have to have the people around you that are holding you accountable for the very thing you said you prayed for.
So to that, iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely.
Right? So I think a nice segue would be those people in the balcony. You spend a lot of time on toxic people. Okay? And sometimes they appear to be, they're a wolf, but they're in sheep's clothing. Okay? My grandmother spoke in old adages. She didn't really speak English, she spoke adages. So she's talking
yes.
right now. And what is a first sign for you that you're dealing with somebody who's maybe not ready to get your wisdom yet, but who's toxic? And let's talk about the difference, because it's two different things.
Absolutely.
One person is not at a growth point yet to receive. Another person,
it's just
toxic.
negative.
Let's talk about that.
So let's start with that's a great question. The one who's not yet ready to graduate to that next best version of who they are, they might be pulling back. A lot of people suffer in silence. So it's not that they're a person who doesn't want to grow. They're just not courageous enough yet to raise their hand and say, I need help. Because you don't ask for help because you're weak. You ask for help because you want to remain strong. And they have to get to the point where they understand when they open their mouth, that's when the help will come. Everywhere in the Bible, Jesus asked people to speak. Ask for the thing that you want. And then he knows, he sees, he understands all, but he's waiting for you to ask. When we open our mouth and we speak, we can get the resources. So that person just needs a little bit more love. A little bit more understanding and community, what we talked about earlier, to feel comfortable and safe in a place that I won't be judged for being me. I will get the assistance I need to be the better me. Now let's go to the toxic people. Signs of a toxic person. an individual who always sees the negative in every situation. How you doing? Oh man, my bones are hurting. Oh my God, you believe what he did? Oh, these kids are getting. Never have a kind or happy word. They start with the negative. So that kind of toxicity, it festers inside of you, and it actually manifests in your body in ways that you don't understand, when diseases and high blood pressure and hypertension, this is real. So if you're always focusing on the negative, as my good friend Dr. Pamela C.V. Jolly would say, if that's what you believe, you're right.
Oh, I love it.
If that's what you believe, you're right. So if you are always seeing the glass half empty, if you're always trying to find, my pastor used to say, you know, on the board, there were panels in the church in the early days. She said, you can look at the panel and look for the dust, or you could be the person, if you see, just go get a piece of paper and wipe it and keep moving. But the toxic person has to complain. I can't believe the dust is on that panel, and nobody wiped the panel, and I don't understand what we paying offering and tithes for, because the panel is just dirty. That is a part of a person's behavior, and that toxicity is just a part of their daily language. So the first key in checking if someone is toxic or negative is watch the language.
Watch the language.
We all have bad days or challenging days or days we wish we could press the do-over button. There are many days when I want to tell people to kick rocks with open-toe shoes on, but I want to go to heaven. So I stop. But I have to self-correct my behavior. And even though there seems like a moment where they're going to make me react, no, you're in control of how you react.
Absolutely.
You're in control of what you say. You're in control of what you do. So when those days happen, Emery, what I do, how you doing? I said, you know, I'm choosing to make it a good day. Because it might not be good right then and there. That might be a challenge moment where I'm like, Jesus, take the wheel, the fence, the car, everything. But in that moment, I can say I'm choosing to make it a good day. Language is the power in shifting your energy from toxic to positive.
Absolutely. Very well put. And see, what I pray for with people is I ask God every day to increase my gift of discernment and intuition.
Amen.
Because He will show you. This internal voice will tell you where the problems lie. But again, red flags, pay attention to them.
Absolutely.
Now I want to move into when you release that toxicity, when you're walking with people who are authentic, when you're part of a community, you must collaborate.
Absolutely.
Let's talk. This is something that as women, I'm going to sit here and say, because there's no tomatoes you can throw at me. We don't do enough of it.
We do.
We're too busy with, well, what's she got on? That's a nice bag. I saw her, she didn't speak to me. I saw her in the grocery store, I was buying. She did not, she walked right by me. I can't stand it. Let's get rid of that, ladies. Let's breathe in abundance and joy and release all that stress and
Absolutely.
negativity.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
let's talk about collaboration.
Absolutely. And when I just want to circle back really quick when you talked about front row. Let's be clear, the devil can sit in the front pew at church, right? So it's not enough to just say you know God, you have to live the word, right? Because that's how the enemy gets in to help that toxic behavior grow and fester. So that's just a side. You know, I don't tell people what to believe or who to believe in, but I don't deny my Christ. And I understand that through wanting to exhibit the fruits of the Spirit, you have to check yourself to make sure that the energy that you bring is representative of something that somebody wants to collaborate with.
Now that was
Okay.
a mouthful.
So you have to bring the best of who you are to each situation. And when we don't collaborate as women, it harms the world because we really do run the world. But when women really get that collaboration doesn't mean because I'm a part of one organization, you're a part of another, or one church and another. It doesn't mean we can't work together or I need to tear you down. That's not what it should be. I am so invested in making women feel their shine all the time. I usually address people as beautiful. Hello, beautiful. Hello, gorgeous. Hello, sweetheart. Because we need to affirm each other in our language and in our conversation so that we can build collaborative, achievement-driven relationships, relationships that help us grow. So that if you're in another organization, what can we do together in both organizations to maximize our reach and serve the greater good? That's what collaboration looks like. That when I see you, you're a reflection of me, sis. So when people compliment me like, oh, you're nice, you're beautiful, I'm just a reflection of you. And if we see each other as reflections of each other, then we're kinder to one another. And we look for the better things about the other that we can compliment. And the things that aren't so good, we can fix the sister's crown without putting it on front page news.
Thank you.
Just pull a sister to the side and say, sis, I don't know if this is really working for you or the way you came across. Maybe you might want to consider. You don't have to give them, you better than that. No, give them options to consider and say, you know, as I think about it, we have some things in common. There's some synergy here. Let's talk about how we can collaborate. Let's talk about how we can come together to do great and amazing things. My conference, it's so much collaboration. I just told Dr. V, because we know each other, didn't realize we were going to be here together. And I said, oh, girl, you'll be talking about that at my conference on the relationship panel. I'm into immediate conversations. If it doesn't happen right away, I don't force fit it.
That's right.
Because I understand God's will done God's way, he will supply. So if I walk in alignment, if I do the right thing, he will connect the dots where they need to be connected so I can pull those collaborations. I can refer you to Felita. I can refer you to people that I know because I know you're shining. And if my two sisters that are shining separately get together, can you imagine? Everybody's gonna need sunglasses. So that's how collaboration works for me, and I live it every single day. When I'm listening, I'm always in the back of my mind, who can I connect them with? Who do I know? What could benefit them? How can another introduction open a door? Because we can say we collaborate and we love our sisters, but then when we're in the room at the table, who are we bringing with us?
Yeah.
When the door is open, do you slam it behind you or do you open it for somebody else to come through? That's what collaboration is. When you're not in the room, is your name being spoken because you know somebody's skill set. That's what collaboration looks like, because you don't have to worry about, well, if I introduce her, she's going to take my clients and she's going to get the referrals. What's for me is for me. What's for you is for you. You know, your anointing is not going to look good on anybody else.
Nobody else can wear it. It's for you.
It's for you. So if you walk in that truth, then you're pushing each other to be the best. So when you collaborate, you can do so much more exponentially. And that is the power, especially in Black women. It's culturally who we are as a people. We did things as a village. You're not by yourself in a silo trying to create and trying to do. You're seeing who you can collaborate with, who can watch the kids while you do something else, who can, you know, open up a pool of money and resources. Let's talk about real growth in our community. If 10 or 20 women come together and pool $1,000, could that invest in something? You know, it's how we think. And when you're around the right collaborations, it forces you to have a different conversation. Then you can't get stuck like I did with girlfriends calling me about the same relationship that they didn't want to get out of 5 years ago, that they're still in. Nothing has changed. And I'm like, sweetheart, unless you're dying or something is happening, unfortunately right now I have a meeting. She didn't have to know what the meeting was. The meeting was with myself. Because I would be on the phone for hours and you can't get your time back. And you're complaining about the same thing that you're not willing to change, and I can't change it for you. I love you, but I can't change it for you. And you're not ready to hear the truth. Because as a good friend and collaborator, you also have to be sensitive to when people are ready.
That's very true.
Because if they're not ready,
they're not going to receive it.
They're not going to receive
They're
it.
not going to receive it. And so you're wasting your precious time. And I tell everybody, time is the one commodity I can't get back. If I can lose money, I will make more money.
Right.
You will never be able to replace my time.
Exactly.
That's why it's so important to not procrastinate.
At all.
That leads me to your next lesson. Now, what is procrastination in my mind? Because we both discussed it earlier.
Yes.
I can procrastinate. And I can talk, I can intellectualize and rationalize my
Girl.
like nobody's business. As you can see, I'm not exactly shy and retired. So for you to hear me talk about why I'm not going to do something right now is epic. And I have to, well, you know, my intuition is telling me now's just not the time. I should wait another couple of days. It'll be the timing is everything. I was just procrastinating, and the reason I found for me, one of the roots of procrastination is fear.
Absolutely. And that fear, we've heard the other adage, fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear is what it is. But you have to feel the fear and do it anyway. What fear really is something on the inside of you confirming that this is a growth moment. And are you going to allow yourself to stretch, that uncomfortable stretch, to get to the other side of what you need to learn in that moment? You know, how many of you have roller skated before?
A long time.
Okay, you said long time. So that was me going out with my sons at a roller skating party, a fundraiser, and I went on the skates, and I'm married to someone who used to be in Skate Kid. Anybody remember Skate Kid? You know, rolling around. Yeah. So he thought he bad, you know, skating backwards and things. So, you know, I put on my roller skates, and I'm out there, and I'm like, the pain that came shooting up the back of my calf. I thought I was going to see my maker. And I said, no, my pride wouldn't let me get off the rink. And I said, just keep going, just keep going. And you know, as I kept going around the rink, the pain started to subside. Right? That's the same thing with fear. It's going to grab you. And when it grabs you, that's a real moment. But you have to push past it. And as I pushed past and kept going around that rink, the pain started to subside. And then I started feeling myself. I was like, oh yeah, I remember how to do this. Fear will paralyze your opportunity to walk in the assignment you were given.
Yes.
But if you're brave enough to feel the fear and still keep moving, then for those of faith, you realize it's not about you. It's about what's being done through you. And when you push past that fear, you're giving honor to the very thing you say you believe.
Wow.
So procrastination is a byproduct of fear because you're waiting for everything to be perfect. You're waiting for everything to line up just the right way. The life lesson I share in this book, it's not about being perfect. It's about getting started so you have something to perfect.
I love it.
How could you ever perfect? While you're so busy getting perfect, somebody's implementing. So if you get started, let's think about it. There's a certain object that many of us in this room have, named after a fruit, and they have various releases that happen multiple times a year. And that particular piece of object is never perfect. But they release it anyway and send out updates and ways in which it can be improved. So if that multi-million brand of an object can continue to release to millions across the globe, what are you waiting on to launch?
And this is what she's talking about Apple. The piece, that's the reference. And what she's saying is we saw Steve Jobs and his cadre of tech experts stand up and introduce these phones one after the other. And we saw people stand in line.
The night before.
Line up at 6 a.m. for something that wasn't close to being perfected. And 6 months later, here was a new one. So what are we waiting for? What are we waiting for?
And that's what the book is about. Stop waiting and start doing. Right? I didn't mention the brand because they haven't sponsored me, and I'm serious about my dollars. So if I'm going to promote you, we need to have an agreement. That there is some return on the price of my verbal investments. But I know that we have to move on with the program, but I just want to do a quick exercise, Emery, if that's all right, with explaining this. So the reason for the book was I lived every life lesson I share. And I don't talk about things that I don't live. So while this was a tribute to my grandmother, I talked about launching it about 5-6 years before we actually produced the book. And my grandmother passed away December 15, 2015. And that was the moment my husband looked at me. He said, ooh, I guess this pre-ordering book that you've been talking about is going to get finished now. Because he felt in my soul it was going to be a tribute to my grandmother. And we launched it on the eve of her birthday, August 16, 2016. And the words, action, action, despite the distraction, it has become a mantra. It's become a battle cry to get moving. To not let procrastination, ego, toxic people, selfishness, all of the distractions that keep us from walking in our assignment, when you holler those words, the enemy himself has to run. Because now you're taking ownership of getting started. You're putting faith in action, because we can talk about faith all day, but faith without works is what? Dead. So my Spanish side would say, muerto, it's done. Right? So we have to be clear. I want you to say the words with me right now. Action, action.
Action, action.
Despite the distraction.
Despite the distraction.
Action, action.
Action, action.
Despite the distraction.
Despite the distraction.
When you have negative people in your life who are telling you you're too old, too young, not ready yet to do your dream, what are you going to holler?
Action, action. Despite the distraction.
When you're implementing your goals and your dreams and your bank account might be a little funny, it might be circulating back to the numbers that you were familiar with, what are you going to holler?
Action, action. Despite the distraction.
When your own mind starts speaking back to you and telling you that you're not enough, that you don't have what it takes, that you didn't come from the right part of town, that you didn't marry the right person, you didn't go to the right school, what are you going to say?
Action, action. Despite the distraction.
And lastly, if you see something that walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and you know it's a duck that's not here to help you, what are you going to holler?
Action, action. Despite the distraction.
Put him in the balcony.
Absolutely. So let that be my gift to you, to just have a mantra, have a battle cry that you can just stand in your truth of knowing you are enough. You have everything that you've already been predestined to do. You just have to believe it. And whatever you believe, you're right.
So with that, round of applause, Q. I have time for some questions. Well, I think that's great. She said it all.
Stacy was at it.
She said it all.
No question. Nobody.
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am.
I also know Pamela Dowley as well. She's one of my favorite people. And I've had this conversation with her about that imposter syndrome. And you know that you have all the credentials, you have the experience, and you're sitting at the table, and all of a sudden that wave will come over you. It's like, okay, do I really know what I'm doing? How do you handle those moments?
That is awesome. And we were actually just together yesterday. I was doing a presentation in Philly, and one of the things that came up was imposter syndrome. So dealing with imposter syndrome, for me, I had to say, God, let me not dishonor the fact that you allowed this moment to happen. And if you allowed this moment to happen, I need to show up with the best of who I am. Excuse me. Ooh, that gesundheit really came out really cool. Thank you. And when you realize, taking it out of that context of that you were supposed to be there, everything that you have gone through, as Bishop Jake said, nothing is wasted. So it is all conspired for the moment that you think you're being an imposter. No, you've been prepared for.
I like that.
So everything has lined up just the right way for you to be in that seat, for that door to be open for you, for that partnership to happen, for that job opportunity to come your way. It has all been curated before that moment happened. So if you can just pause, because no one can really know what's going on in your head. We think people can hear our minds. And if they did, Lord help us all, right? They can't hear what's in your mind. They don't know what you're going to say. So you still have confidence, even if on the inside you're shaking like a leaf. The confidence that you exude for me is my way of honoring what God has given me. So I said, take yourself out of this, Stacy. You're representing the king. And if you're in the king's business, you better walk like a queen.
Wow. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, I see. Let me stand up here. I see you.
Me?
Yes.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
I have to say my name?
Yes.
We'll say it for you. Robin.
Hi, Robin.
Excellent. You know, in the, Robin here, H-A-M. You know, when you decided to write your book, and, you know, everything was lined up for you, God had it all planned, and, you know, did you find that you lost friends? Did they go to the balcony as soon as they knew you were writing a book? Because I find that that's a huge challenge when you're doing something like that, that there's no village. Everyone disappears because of their own issues, and the support is zippo. So what did you experience? And two, I think it's excellent that you guys are doing this. And my mother and my grandmother always said, have different friends for different things. Never stay with the same friends because you have constant disappointment. All the things you like to do have different people that do different things, and then it keeps you full. And then you don't have to like worry about a lot of things. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you for that question. That was a loaded question. And I thank you for that because I'm going to do my best to break it down really quickly.
Okay.
So the first part of that is understanding that your network and who your friends are will not necessarily change, but you'll have friends for different parts of your life, right? That certain things you can't relate to. And certain friends just haven't had certain experiences, so they can't really help you. So for me, it wasn't so much that friends left. I just started to see who thought the audacity of her to write a book. The audacity for her to do this because that, you know, that's making her look like she is so narcissistic. What it also showed me was I had to have new friends who published and who did this work that I needed to talk to get some additional information about how the process feels on the other side, right? After you get the book out in the world, what to do. So that created a new avenue of friendship. And then what ended up happening, what the kids say, haters gonna hate? You can't stop that, but you can't let your energy focus there because then it takes you away from the job at hand, which is to do it. So when I speak to aspiring authors, I tell them just start writing and make sure you find a new network of people who can support you in the process because it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. There's editing, even if you're not delayed with procrastination or fear, it's still a process. And you need to have the right people around you to help you through the process. Lastly, about the friends, and then we're gonna wrap up. I remember when this book was about to come out, I told you it was dedicated to my grandmother. 2 weeks before the event, my entire book was lost. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. And I was at my computer finishing a late night edit before it had to go into production. And I woke my husband up at least 2 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't breathe. I was like, he was like, what's wrong with you? And like, he's groggy and waking up like, book. He was like, speak. I was like, the book, it's gone. Now I live with a techie. Everything is wired in our house. Backup, anybody using a computer, backup, whole nine. He comes, he looks. He's like, babe, you saved this, right? And when I tell you everything, the distraction alerts that are in here, all the extra stuff, gone. I couldn't even cry. I was like Denzel in Glory, like the tear was right here. And it wouldn't fall. Because I was like, Jesus, like this could not be happening to me. I couldn't even get the tear. He was just holding me and rocking. I don't know when I fell asleep. And I got up the next morning and I said, was that a nightmare? Emery, I was like, did this really happen? Like, we're 2 weeks out. People have pre-bought the book. The venue is booked. Vendors, everything's coming. There's no book. I got up, and when I realized it was real, I went on my knees. And when I opened the Bible, the first scripture I turned to was Luke 1:37. For with God, nothing shall be impossible. And I'm like, well, Jesus, we really gonna put you to the test this time. And I say all that to say, when I started calling my friends to tell them about what happened, they were like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna cancel? And I'm like, cancel? Like, that didn't even come up in my mind. Now, some weren't saying it maliciously. They were just like, girl, we don't want you embarrassed in these streets because people are coming. They have paid for the book. You have no book. I said, God, you gave it to me before. You will give it back to me again. I had to travel in between that. I was crying and typing on the plane. I went to go see my dad. He was like, baby, I was like, Daddy, the book is gone. And God gave me back what I lost and more. And it was 72 hours before the event, and some of my friends were still doubting, like, how is she gonna pull this off? But that showed me that they were acquaintances. My ride or dies were like, you need us to come over? Like, what do you have to do? Like, we'll help you edit. Like, we'll stay up all night. We'll get it done. And my husband didn't sleep. My mom didn't sleep. My sister didn't sleep. Like, the whole family was on deck. And when I tell you my God is real, I was sending out emails that weekend before the event asking for angels. I was like, there has to be an angel out here, Lord, because it's not even laid out right. It's not ready. Wasn't until Monday morning when I got a call back from the lady who actually did the formatting of the book and explained the situation. She said, when's your book launch? I said, tomorrow. She said, say what? Anybody that's published a book, you know that's unheard of. Layout takes a week. She said, let me see what I can do. I said, Jesus work. The printer called me. He said, when is your launch? I said, tomorrow. Do you understand if we don't have this book in-house, ready to go, no edits, you will not have a book? I said, mm-hmm. And I'm praying. When I say my faith was tested, everything I write about is real, the printer shut his shop down when he got the file at 3 a.m. that morning. He came into work early. He said, just God led me to come in early. He came in at like 6 a.m., shut down his whole press to print the first 200 copies of this book that was completely edited, finished, laid out, all within 48 hours. Wow. That my mother and sister went to get the first 2 boxes of books. Balloons are up, Step and Preta up, no book until they walked in that door that night, and we sold out every copy. That is the God I serve. So when I talk about faith in action and action despite the distraction, that was a distraction that showed me who my friends were in the battle in that moment. Some couldn't help themselves because for them it's just like throw your hands up in the air, like it's done. But if I believe that I served a man who could do all things but fail, then I need to walk in that. And my friends that were around me who believed that they held my hand through the process. And here we are in 2020.
Love it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll make it quick. Okay, so I know you had talked about putting toxic people in the balcony, and most of you talked about friends. What if the toxic people are family?
Oh, that's a great one. What if the toxic people are family? You can't choose your family. You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. And while I wanted all my family members to be excited about, some love me, but they love to hate me that I did it. Because this is honoring our grandmother. This is honoring our matriarch. And I expected more support. And at the end of the day, it was, wow. 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 So when it's your family, you can't not have them as your family. Right. You just engage with them differently. And you pray for the time that they will realize, bless you. You pray for the time that they'll realize that what you're doing honors family. So if they support you, you can do even more. But you can't let that stop you from doing what you need to do. Prayerfully, they fall in line. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but that's not your job. You mentioned Queen, Dr. Maya Angelou, earlier. When she was counseling Oprah, when that drama was happening in her life, I forgot which set of drama, because Oprah's had a couple. But she said, Oprah, you're not in it. Other people's stuff, issues with you, challenges with you, you're not in it. Right? Because sometimes people hate you or despise you or are uncomfortable with you, and you don't even know why. They didn't have the courtesy of telling you why they can't stand you. So there's nothing that you can do to change that. But just know that you operate in a space and a place where you can be the best person you can be. Right? And check your own self. There are things that I need to work on, things that I need to do. You know, like we were having our conversation about being a foodie. I'm still in rehab for Snicker bars and chicken wings, right? So there's situations that we have to work through. And you have to have the people around you that can help you through that process. And if they're not ready in their family, it hurts. And I'm not going to say it does. But you still move on, and eventually they'll start to pick up. Okay. And I'll just leave this last thing. It was a cousin who supported me, but I didn't know how important this book was. She revealed to me 2 years after I wrote the book. She said, "Cuz, I just want to let you know, don't stop doing," and I'm going to tear up, "don't stop doing what God has given you to do, because I almost took my life. And what stopped me was reading your book." So whatever you have, whatever God has given you, there's a reason. There's a reason. I still got it. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I just say that, even if it's family, because one family member didn't support, but that family member was saved. Yeah.
Just to end,